So PSI has been doing a lot of work on digitalization. As Daria said, I'm coordinating that, although there's a lot of different people involved. Here is some of the work we're doing around digital trade rules and big tech, and also some work we're doing on taxing big tech. We also have this publication on the right, which is about economic rights in a database society, and Christina touched on some of those issues. And I put into the chat box also a publication that we did with Christina, which was a union action guide that runs through all of the issues that we think are important for public sector unions. But the publication on the left here is a piece of research that Daria oversaw, which looks at the workplace implications of digitalization, which is what often unions want to know about first. And Daria and Christina have gone through a lot of the content, so I won't go through that again. But there are three main headline lessons that we took from this report and some of the other work we did. The first is that control over technology matters. Who controls the technology is important. The second is that unions can use collective bargaining to take back some control over some of these issues surrounding digitalization. And the third was unions are struggling a little bit to work out how to use collective bargaining to take back some of the control on digitalization. And so that led us to try to find out how we could help. And so, as Daria mentioned, we are in the process of collecting a range of collective bargaining clauses that unions around the world have been negotiating to deal with digitalization. And we're doing this for two reasons. The first objective is to provide a resource for affiliates to share the information from what other unions are doing, so we can learn from each other. The second is to identify where there are gaps and where we can do better, and so we can spend some time developing the collective bargaining clauses that unions want and need but don't have. We've gathered these collective bargaining clauses from a wide range of unions, national and sectoral and company, public and private, union databases, and even guidance from unions to officials or members. And we've had quite a lot of contributions, mainly PSI affiliates, mainly in the European Union, but also in Africa, Asia, and the Americas, and some of the unions on this call have contributed clauses. When we got that all together, what we realized was that many unions know they have to do more, know that they need to develop clauses for their enterprise agreements or collective agreements, but are struggling to know where to start or even where their needs are. And so the first thing we did with Christina and with our researchers is to develop a taxonomy, a way of sorting all this information so that you can find out what your needs are quickly, and you can find the clauses that other unions have developed quickly. And these are the headline headings of that taxonomy, and under each of these are subheadings, so that you can take the member's inquiry or your bargaining agent's inquiry, work out what they're actually looking for, and quickly find the agreement or the clause that another union has produced in that area and adapt it for your needs. So what are the results? Well, we found out that a lot of work is actually being done on areas where unions have traditionally been strong. So there are clauses on employment and jobs, job security, training and skills, work organization and working time, health and safety, the introduction of change and new technologies. Also, there's some progress on the right to disconnect and some progress on occasional teleworking. We found there was a large difference in data protection and integrity. The European GDPR is probably the most important guidance for negotiation of rights in EU countries, but outside of the EU, there was much, much less. So where unions are negotiating on digital effects on traditional business, we're doing okay. What we found was we were weaker on the aspects where digitalization has a strong impact and has added a new dimension to work organisation. So new forms of employment, such as platform work or crowd working, there was very little. Flexible and largely unregulated forms of work organisation that has been triggered by digitalisation. So smart and agile working and internal crowd working, almost nothing on that either. And there was little on the aspects where digitalisation has a strong impact and has added a new dimension to working conditions. So education and training, such as e-learning or learning platforms, online and self-learning, and I think Christina mentioned some of that. IT risk assessments, so the way in which psychosocial strains are related to digital tools. And also the same as it relates to employees' information rights. And again, Christina touched on some of that in terms of IT safety inspections, data storage, data governance, and the provision of quality public services. There are some areas where we found nothing at all so far. And we're not saying there's nothing out there, we're just saying it appears that unions are not engaging in this through collective bargaining much at all at the moment. And mainly it was around the collection of data. So data protection for employees, employee data ownership. So again, that point about who controls the data, joint governance of data, and if employees are creating data, are they getting remuneration for it? And then data ethics, very, very little. Other areas where we found nothing at all was the use of data in artificial intelligence. And so new forms of technologies and behavioral control. So keystroke monitoring, wearable technology, the creation of big data, emotional tracking, all of those issues that Daria mentioned, but also that Christina has mentioned, you know, the waste truck that's being rerouted, or a care worker who's going from house to house providing care and having their routes being planned out for them and monitored, and work intensification, and then this whole area of automation and robotization. So automated processes, automated decision making, algorithms and programming and governments. We did find that there were contextual factors. So the legal framework of a country had a very important effect on whether or not and how digitalization was being monitored and governed and was affecting workers. And the state of digital development in the country obviously had a very direct impact. The types of technologies that were prevalent in the country had an impact on what unions were doing. So the next steps, we'd be thrilled if, as part of this conversation, we could get your views and input into where you are doing collective bargaining, where you'd like to do collective bargaining, where your members want you to do collective bargaining or take action when digitalization affects you. We will have the online web portal that will be available later this year. So we will roll that out and you'll get the chance to see that. But we want your draft model clauses. This portal will be an online resource for unions. We want you to use it, but we also want you to send us in your clauses and send us in your bargaining guidance. Because the more information we put in, the more it's shared amongst unions around the world, and the stronger we get. We know big tech's doing it, governments are doing it. We need to be doing it. And then at the bottom, it's got the training course that we're rolling out, that Christina's doing, and that is part of our capacity building, so that we're training union leaders and also bargaining officers in unions to be able to use these tools to do the collective bargaining on the ground. We've done the experts training, as Christina said. We're about to do the union leaders training, which will be at the end of this year and the first half of next year. And then at the end of next year, we're going to be training bargaining agents. And that's it for me. I'm very excited to be here. Thank you, Daria, for organizing this. And very interested to hear your feedback on collective bargaining, but also all of the other issues associated with it. Thank you.